Alrighty guys, how you guys doing? It's a brand spanking new year. We're right at the start and I'm going to give you my thoughts as to what we're going to see in the Mac lineup this year. Feel free to agree, feel free to disagree, feel free to throw abuse in the comments below. Video responses would be pretty good. But before we get started, I would appreciate if you can take a look at igear.com. If you could Facebook like it or tweet it out, that would be pretty epic. It's basically iDevice, tech, gadget, travel, clothing, and you won't be disappointed. So starting off with the MacBook Pros, seeing as a lot of you have messaged me about it, should I get it, should I not get it, and hopefully this kind of segment is going to tell you what to explain to you what you can expect from the next generation of MacBook Pros. The next generation MacBook Pros are going to be beastly. There's going to be a complete redesign. There was a lot of talk about liquid metal last year. It never happened. This year, considering, you know, the aluminium MacBook, generally the MacBooks came out in 2008. 4 years on, they are going to have to do something special, something just more than hardware. And because, moving on to the hardware now, because they're going to be using Ivy Bridge, which is, you know, kind of giving a better performance, 25% better performance, better battery usage, you know, could they do with a really slick design? Could we see the MacBook Pro heading towards a MacBook Air-ish look? So you've got a MacBook Air 11-inch, MacBook Air 13-inch, and then you've got the MacBook Pro, still Pro branded, but it's still the look of a, you know, still the look of an Air, but it's much more customizable, so if you want to put RAM in yourself, you can still do so. It's pretty much made for the Pro market. So the Ivy Bridge chipset is really good news for mobile users, for MacBook users, for, you know, just MacBook Air users, because it's going to be utilising the battery much better, and more, you're going to get more oomph or more juice from this Ivy Bridge chipset by Intel. Hard drives, I think we're going to see some sort of hybrid solution, standard, or heck, what we have in the MacBook Airs right here, which is flash storage. Oh my god, I wish they do flash storage plus kind of an OptiBay solution, so you've got kind of two drives, but the OS is installed on the flash drive, so it's much more faster in loading up applications, starting up the OS, sleeping, shutting the computer off, while the other secondary drive is for storing all your legally downloaded movies and programs and, you know, so on. But we're talking about Apple, so the likelihood of them doing two drives in one is highly unlikely. I think we can expect just a one drive, but some sort of splittage in between where half is SSD and half is just, you know, old, you know, big chunky or slow drive. The graphics card, I hope they use nvidia. I'm just talking about the MacBook Airs, although the new ones aren't using nvidia's, which the 2010 MacBook Airs were using. They still perform better in terms of gaming and so on. Yes, this has got a better processor and it's using the Intel HD graphics, but it's not as good as the nvidia, and there's been stats and stuff that proves that the old MacBook Airs were much better in gaming performance, solely because of the graphics. And because there's going to be an Ivy Bridge chipset in the MacBook Pro, we can expect USB 3. You heard me correct. Remember Thunderbolt? A year on, Jack all is out. At least now that USB 3 is going to be default on all Ivy Bridge chipsets, and Intel is, you know, single-handedly supporting it really well. Apple did say once Intel supports it solely, then they would kind of use it, and it kind of, you know, does make sense, but it's disappointing on the Thunderbolt front. We were promised this, that and the other, and it was one of those exclusive things for Apple once they released the MacBook Pros in February 2011. 10 months on and we still haven't seen much. So USB 3 is pretty fantastic news, because now you can get USB 3 drives and move files across much faster. And lastly, what I think is going to happen with the MacBook Pros, or I wish what is going to happen with the MacBook Pros, better displays. The current ones are literally, you know, mirrors. The MacBook Air, on the other hand, are absolutely gorgeous. Now I know you can get this display on your MacBook Pro, but you've got to pay a premium. So it would be good to have these kind of displays on a MacBook Pro with no additional cost. And especially when Apple is moving with this whole retina-ish, you know, area where the iPod Touch, the iPhone, there's talk about the next iPad 3 is going to be retina, but I'll leave that I leave all the iOS devices into a different video, so I'm hoping for a better display. So now moving on to the MacBook Air. Well, what's going to happen with the MacBook Air? Seeing that you can't friggin' update the RAM yourself, they'll probably up the gains in terms of RAM, so now it can support 6 or 8 GB of RAM. A bit of graphics card or the GPU would be much appreciated. Of course, it's going to be using the Ivy Bridge chipset, which is going to bring USB 3, better battery performance. So if you have an 11-inch MacBook Air with an Ivy Bridge chipset, even a 13-inch, be really nice if you're going on long haul flights or if you're watching a lot of videos or playing games. So the Ivy Bridge chipset is a huge deal in terms of performance, in terms of speed, and in terms of battery life. And I guess the one more thing when it comes to the MacBook Air 2012 is going to be this small little thing here, also known as FaceTime. As you guys and gals will know, it's not FaceTime HD. How disappointing is that? How dare they bring out a 2011 MacBook Air with VGA quality camera? So yeah, imagine if they updated FaceTime HD last year, what would they do this year? And I don't think there's going to be any major external refresh in terms of the design of the MacBook Air. I think it's going to be the same, considering it was just released in 2010. So no major exteriors, it's all going to happen internally. Next, moving on to the iMac. The iMac is a really gorgeous machine. It does look a piece of art when it's on your desk, or when it's in, just when you walk into an Apple store, or when you see it in films. There's been a few films that I've recently watched and just look really stunning. And sales for the iMacs are pretty nice for all-in-one machines. They are pretty slick, and they are pretty beastly. They're the fastest Macs, so it's just amazing when you look at an iMac and you think, wow, that is pretty powerful. So what is going to happen to the iMac in 2012? Can we expect some sort of redesign so it looks more like an Apple Cinema display, more of that black glossy exterior finish? Are they going to make it more thinner? There really hasn't been much concrete rumours on the iMac so far. We've seen tons in the MacBook Air, tons in the MacBook Pros, but nothing really concrete as to what is going to happen. But I guess here are the things that I want to see. I don't mind the current design. Let's say they stick with the current design. If they go towards a cinema display-ish look, I don't mind either. The one thing that I do want changed is the screen resolution, or the screen type. It's kind of glossy again, coming back onto glossy. If you are positioned near a window, and it just messes the whole kind of, it's not comfortable looking at an iMac, where it is comfortable looking at a MacBook Air, or heck, even that Asus screen behind me, which is kind of a matte-ish display. So it'd be good in that front. Staying on screens, are they going to change the sizes of the screens at all? Because in 2009, when Apple launched the revised iMacs, which were kind of a major refresh, they brought out the 21.5-inch screens. I don't know what the half was, and a 27-inch. They were previously coming from a 17 and 24 or something like that. So could this year be where they go all out in a 30-inch display, or a 22.5 display? Or there's been reports that Johnny Ive has a 50-inch TV, so could Johnny Ive also have a secret 35.5-inch iMac in his basement in Apple HQ? Who knows? And again, it's going to be using the new Intel chipset, Ivy Bridge. And I guess the last thing that I really want to see from an iMac is an HDMI port. Would be pretty nice. Moving on to the Mac Pro, because I know every single person out there watching this video wants or is desperate for a Mac Pro. What on earth is going on? It's been over a year since they've upgraded it. Here's the thing, the Mac Pro is a good machine. I personally don't think they are going to get rid of it, despite many rumours and analysts saying it's going to, go away. Eventually, yes, but it's not going to happen so soon. And the reason for that is a lot of pros use it. Now, at the same time, it's not really much of a consumer kind of product. You go to your local Apple store, stand there for a day, and see the amount of Mac Pros they sell. It's most probably going to be zero, especially if you stay in a remote stuff. Those people who buy a Mac Pro know they want a Mac Pro. They know they're going to buy a Mac Pro even before they come into a store. It's not as if you're just going to take a stroll into the Apple store and decide to pick up this big, hefty, meaty machine because it looks nice. The chances are, you know, take a stroll, you either pick up a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air or an iMac, because it's more of a family-ish device. And I'm not saying you just walk into an Apple store and pick up a Mac, but what I'm saying is, for that much that you're going to be paying, and because it's so highly powered, it's not a machine that is for everyone. So they could essentially just keep it for online sales. There's no reason for it to be in a retail store, giving it, you know, shelf life or space. So it could just be a build to order online feature only, or over the phone, so they don't have to keep stock and waste storage and stuff on Mac Pros that no one really is going to kind of, you know, buy. Sure, they can keep one model where they can have it on display, but if you want to really buy it, you have to order it in. Anyways, there's been reports that there's a 3-week wait on a Mac Pro currently, so if you're trying to, you know, pick one up or build one at the moment, there's a 3-week wait, which is unusual coming from a 1 to 3 day availability time frame. Intel is in the process of releasing beastly chipsets for these high-end machines, so they were delayed, which is that why Apple have, you know, delayed the Mac Pros, which is kind of most probable, I guess. The Mac Pro hasn't been redesigned for a couple of years, and there's been talks, reports, analysts saying that there's going to be a major refresh if, you know, a new Mac Pro is unveiled. Could it really? The Xserves were gone last year, and not, you know, Pros were of course not happy and so on. So could this be, you know, something where Apple is keeping a grip on Pro customers? There's been a few customers recently, Pro customers, who have left Final Cut Pro, although not, you know, related, but Pro users leaving Final Cut for other competitor software. So do Apple really, you know, want to annoy Pro customers that much? Because there are quite a lot. You've got studios, TV kind of guys, Hollywood, design, creative people, newspapers. So it's not, I admit that it's not really for everyone. It's not a consumer device. It's not something you would pick up. But do they really want to annoy Pro customers? I guess that is the question. And last but not least, Mac Mini, the baby Mac, the so-called low entry model, where it's not really low entry if you're here in the UK. It's a decent price in the States and Hong Kong, but anywhere else it's really not a low entry model, especially when you're not getting a keyboard, mouse and screen. So from that, Apple really need to get the pricing right here in the UK. I know there's VAT, tax and so on, but they do really need to bring the prices down, period. I don't expect much of a major refresh in terms of design. They've done away with the super drives. They're going to be, of course, using the Intel Ivy Bridge chipsets. Flash storage would be really awesome on this device, you know, making your TV setup even more amazing, or your desktop setup even more kind of amazing. Something that, you know, hopefully they'll do with the iMacs as well, where it's half and half flash and half traditional hard drive, so you can have your OS on the flash and loading up and stuff. But that is my thoughts on what is going to happen with the Mac lineup in general. You guys can come back once these machines are released this year and slate me for what I've said, but that's just some general thoughts as to what is going to go down. If you agree, feel free to write it. If you disagree, what would you like to see? Are you waiting for a Mac at the moment? Which one is it? Would be interesting to know how many of you are waiting for a Mac Pro. But guys, that is it really for this video. I'll do a separate video on iOS devices, what I expect from iPhones, iPads, iTouches or iPod Touches. I'll probably get slated for saying iTouches. Stay tuned, like, favourite, comment, be appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, and guys, before you go, would appreciate if you can visit igear.com. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!